Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Black and White United Show. I'm your host, Andreas. Thank you so much for tuning in with me this morning. In today's episode, we're going to review our, I think it was like 29-point win over West Coast on Saturday night at Marvel Stadium. Roll the intro.
0, 1. Let's get started.
So look, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I wasn't happy with the performance on the weekend, especially the first three quarters. The last quarter was so much more like us. The game was obviously more on our terms. Pendle said it in his post-match interview on the ground that obviously they were trying to be too cute. We overused the handballs way too much during the game, and we'll get to all that in a minute. But the difference between this game and a lot of other games was we had some individual performances that were really well, like Nick Dacos, Scott Pendlebury, even Josh Dacos. I thought Dan Houston played well, Lipinski played well, Jack Crisp played well. So we had players that played well individually, but just the link up as a side, as a team throughout the night, I don't think was 100%. Now, I put up on my post on YouTube and I got some comments that obviously people didn't agree with me 110%, but you know, I was a bit deflated in the sense of like I was more enthusiastic about our loss to Geelong earlier this season than this win against West Coast, and I think maybe I could be myself setting the standards too high, but I thought this was a chance that we could play against a bottom team and actually bully them throughout the entire game and, you know, sort of take advantage of where they were. Obviously, credit to them, and we can't take anything away from West Coast because that was one of the first three quarters, or the three quarters they put up against us was some of the best football of the season that we've had against us. Obviously, taking Geelong and GWS out of the equation, they actually looked really threatening, and I was really impressed with what I saw. I think they're going to be okay if they can get some more experienced players in to help out the likes of Baker and Jack Graham as well. I did say in my preview I thought they were going to control a fair bit of the game, and they did. But look, let's just get to the individual performance of this game. Nick Dacos, 34 disposals. Josh Dacos, 30. Pendle's got 28. Jack Crisp got 27. Ned Long, 21. Sidebottom, 20. And then obviously Lipinski, Cameron, Houston, and that all got 19 each. So, as I said, there was a lot of individuals that played well, but just the link up and the overuse of the handball. There were so many times throughout this game where I felt like we were going to Pendles and we were going to Nick and we were going to Ned Long a little bit too much, and we were relying them so much on the handball chain. I felt like Ed Allen was a little bit of a casualty in that, where he tried so much to get the hands to get the hands off, and then just found himself in the wrong spot at the wrong time and ended up getting tackled quite a few times. With that being said, though, how good is it to see someone like an Ed Allen actually put in some decent games together now? And it's going to be extremely hard to get him out of the side, but that's something that we'll focus on obviously a little bit later on throughout the season when everybody comes back. As I said at the start of the video, and I've calmed down now because I was really disappointed in our performance, especially for the first three quarters. I've noticed myself, and maybe I'm being too harsh, and I'm sure you guys will tell me, and I'm doing a live tomorrow night, so I'm sure you guys will tell me on that too. You know, where we got the 4 points, regardless. If you had told me that, you know, it's going to be a really tight game, blah, 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 but we're going to win by 29 points, I'd be like, yeah, sweet, no worries. But I just felt like this was an opportunity for us to really bury a side, similar to the way that we did against Port Adelaide in round one. But with that being said, no more Marvel Stadium. No more Marvel for the rest of the season. We don't have to worry about going there. We've got and as I said, like earlier in the season, I judge everything by like 4-week blocks with like, you know, what happens in the next month of football. So I judge everything on 4-week blocks. We've got Carlton, Gold Coast, Fremantle, and then we've got Richmond coming up at the MCG. Realistically, these next 4 games are going to be the lead up until like, you know, playing the decent sides towards the finals. This is the 4-week period now where we really have to, you know, get these 4 wins and move on to the next section of the season and sort of stamp our authority. Now, I know it's hard to I'm a pessimist when it comes to a lot of things. I've just found that the last 3 weeks of football, we have allowed opposition teams to dictate too much of the play, and then we're just relying on those moments where we turn around and we're like bang, 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 and we win, and that's great and that's awesome. I'd rather that than go through the defibrillators that we did the last 2 seasons or the last 3 seasons or whatever, winning these close ones, because I can't put up with that anymore. But I just feel that, especially the game against Melbourne, St Kilda more just the first 2 quarters, but this game against West Coast, we're getting caught out out in defence too much. We're getting caught out to the point where our defenders are too far up the ground, and I've noticed that the ball just goes on top and they've walked in 2 or 3 goals. If West Coast is doing that to you, there's little issues there that we need to fix. West Coast own the corridor, like McRae said in his press conference. They own the corridor quite a bit, not to the point where they completely destroyed us, but to the point where alarm bells were ringing, and I was thinking to myself watching the game, why are we allowing them so much of the easy short 45 kicks to then set themselves up to go into the forward line, and then we're just relying on our defence to double back and try and do so much? I can't stress enough how much of a loss Billy Frampton is to this football club at this time. The quicker he comes back into the side, the better. It allows Darcy Moore to play more of that intercepting role. It allows Darcy Moore to mark the ball and push forward. I felt like Dan Houston had one of his better games as well. I love the way that he played. I thought that his disposal was good. His decision making was fantastic, and he didn't set the world on fire and get 34, 35 touches, but when we needed him to do something, he did it. Josh was fantastic. Nick was absolutely next level again. Pendlebury is by far, and I know I'm drifting off now, but Pendlebury is by far the greatest Collingwood player of all time. To be doing what he's doing at his age and to seal off the game with the goal the way that he did is just a credit to him and the staff at Collingwood and how they're conditioning his body. But anyway, it's a bit of a mellow review, this one. I wasn't overly excited with what I saw. With that being said, though, we got the 4 points. We did what we had to do. Fly said in the presser, it's not about the style. It's about just getting it and moving on with the process. And I 110% agree with that. I think it was more just I really wanted to bury a side. And, going up against Carlton next week, and I'll say this in my preview and stuff like that too, obviously with games against Carlton and games against Essendon and all these marquee games and stuff, it doesn't matter where the teams are, what they're going through, everybody lifts. Now, do I think we'll beat Carlton? Yes, I think we'll beat them, and we'll beat them quite convincingly. Do I think it's going to be... Do I think it's a danger game? You look at sides like North Melbourne, you look at sides like, West Coast and Richmond and stuff like that, and you know that you're going to win, but you just got to get the job done without sounding too cocky. Carlton should be in that pile, realistically. Carlton should be in that pile with those clubs that we know that we're going to go out there and we're just going to do whatever. If we play the first 3 quarters the way that we played against West Coast, against Carlton, it's going to be a different story next Friday night or this Friday night. And that's something that I don't want to happen. So I'm hoping this week that we can rectify the use of the rebounds, the use of the footy, obviously getting rebounded into our defence, the use of the corridor, I should say, sorry. Hopefully we can sort of hone in on that, because I think that was our biggest killer on the weekend, and that we don't allow teams to, knowing that everybody's human, we're going to have days. There is going to be a home and away game leading up to the finals that we probably drop anyway. I know everyone's human, but I think the standards are set so high, and there's no reason why we can't continue to be the best football club in the competition and set our standards so high above the rest, which will get us that flag this year that we're dying for and that we're craving for so much. It's been an interesting one. I'm not... I know some people are going to watch this and they're going to be like, fuck, you're so pessimistic about it, blah, blah, we got the points, and I get it, and I'm happy that we did 100%. I just wish that we just took it a little bit extra against West Coast. But it is what it is. Make sure you drop a comment, tell me what you think, call it as you see it, and as always, go the Pies.